You know what time it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Clinch.
Hello everyone and welcome to The Clinch, the World Taekwondo official podcast. Today we are in great company here at the Olympic Esports Week in Singapore. We are talking technology and we are talking esports. Guys, I will let you introduce yourself around the table and then we can start this great discussion.
Jerry, of course, you first.
Hi, I'm Jerry. I'm the Senior Director of Planning and Finance in World Taekwondo, and it's really a pleasure to be here today.
My name is Michael. I'm the CEO of Refract Technology. We are the company behind the game and the technology for virtual Taekwondo. And we have here Darren. Darren, please.
I'm Darren. So I'm the head of production for the game, Virtual Taekwondo, and I help along with the technology as well as the game development.
Thank you guys again for joining us. A big topic, an exciting topic, an innovative topic. WT and Refract Technologies teamed up 4 years ago to create a virtual Taekwondo game. So much to talk about. Maybe we can start diving into this topic with discussing a little bit about the origin of the project, you know, the vision. How did it all come up?
Well, that's a while back, but I think very early on, the different founders. So there were three of us: Chong, Eugene, and myself. We were actually, working on a different project together, esports related, gaming related, and we were just having coffee after a meeting actually. And we were talking about how with the incoming of potentially XR technology or virtual reality and the like, what gaming would look like at that point, because we were all avid gamers as well. And that was when I got really excited about the idea of being able to let people use their own body as a game controller. And that's really how the whole thing really started, either rolling uphill or downhill at speed, right? So then we became really fortunate through stakeholders to get to be in touch with World Taekwondo. World Taekwondo took a very keen interest in what we were doing. And we started, for any startup really, any chance to work with a venerable organization like World Taekwondo, I mean, of course, we will want to, work on that, right? And that culminated in 2019. I think it's May in Manchester. Jerry, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, in Manchester, it was the World Championships, and that was when we demonstrated the virtual Taekwondo for the first time. In front of the IOC president, actually. And he was very impressed by this vision of World Taekwondo and Refract. And now we have been very lucky to have the development team and also the, energy of Refract team to really invest into this system. And ever since, we have not looked back. It has always been looking forward, and the results are shown here in Singapore.
That speaks a lot about the wish for World Taekwondo to always innovate and to always evolve, because today, of course, in 2023, it's easy to say, oh, let's go and invest in esports. Everyone
100%.
already made the turn. But back then, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, the technology wasn't there, and it's not like it was a done thing. What's that?
That's a plane for the
National
Day Parade practice. Welcome to Singapore.
Welcome to
Plane
Singapore.
is flying in the room right now.
Yeah, exactly. This can stay in the clip.
They should stay in the clip. It's almost National Day, but
It is.
I do want to really, it's really very interesting and exciting for us that Dr. Cho, the president of World Taekwondo, was quite forward-looking, and he had a very clear vision, I would say. I really respect that he felt that the future of sports can have a technology element to it that is more forward-looking in that sense. Yeah.
And I would add in that for President Cho, he has been talking about technology and innovation ever since he became the president of World Taekwondo. And the protector system is one such thing, and also the referees enhancements. And this is just another part of his vision that is coming true now. And for us, once again, to have Refract really coming in and sharing the same vision and in fact driving the whole project forward, it has really been a pleasure for us.
That's amazing, and we can tell the way things have moved forward over 5 years that it's not just a vitrine project. You guys are working constantly to develop this idea. And what would you say? Okay, 5 years ago to now, if you can tell me maybe what are the main milestones that you think have been on the road for you to be where you are today?
Wow, there are a lot of milestones, but I do want to say that we were extremely Refract as a company was really fortunate and lucky to be able to get someone who is not with us here today right now, Ikwan. And Ikwan also managed to get Darren here with us today on board at Refract Technologies, which eventually became its own company called Deep Dive Studios as part of the Refract family. So Ikwan actually, he is from like his entire career has been in tech and game development, and he's, to me, a sorcerer when it comes to tech. So I really want to give that shout out to him. He was being poached by one of the biggest game companies in the world, and he decided to join us. To this day, I thank the heavens for that. And he was able to get Darren. Darren actually is at Unity, and Unity is one of the two biggest game engines in the world. And most people who go to Unity, they're like, okay, I'm done. Like, I've reached the peak of tech and game. I'm not going anywhere. Somehow, Ikwan managed to say, hey, come over. And he joined us. So, like, Darren, thank you very much for joining us. Before that, he was with Ubisoft. He was with EA, Electronic Arts, and the like. So, really, that was a huge milestone internally for Refract, because if you want to push the absolute boundaries of gaming and tech, you absolutely need to make sure that you have the best guys on board. Yeah. So, I don't know, Darren, you joined shortly after, I think, Manchester.
Yeah. So, I saw the whole system and the demo in Manchester. So it was kind of like a spark to an idea that you kind of see into the future, and you see the potential of virtual reality, the potential of esports, or the potential of integrating technology into a system, into a game, where it kind of enriches and enhances experience for gamers. Because in traditional gaming, you kind of look at a screen. So in a form of a monitor or in a form of a mobile phone. So it has never been an experience where you can fully immerse yourself, for example, in Taekwondo sparring. Yeah, and I think the collaboration with World Taekwondo and kind of getting the feedback has been mini milestones along the way, where we actually get athletes to try out the system. And it's really exciting for us and for the development team to get that feedback as well.
For sure, and I guess it's a common ground on any big project. It's about the people that join the team to realize this dream. So that's something you can really feel in this project, either with World Taekwondo that is always pushing to develop, or with Refract Technologies. You guys are here for the right reason, and you can tell in the project that you deliver. And so, of course, then the team that is part of it is a milestone. Anything else following that?
Yeah. So, unfortunately or fortunately, right after 2019, I think, as the whole world knows, the COVID pandemic hit us pretty quick. So I say unfortunately or fortunately, because that was really about the time when the world went into lockdown and technology became, virtual reality or technology became such a thing where people started paying very close attention to. And luckily for us, and I hate to say it this way, but like the attention and the intention also to explore digitalization of sports or virtualization of sports started to pick up pace. So we started getting a lot more we started gain ground. I would say within some parts of the sports world. And so we really wanted to make sure that we got something good. So even though, most of us were working from home, trying to do a virtual reality project while working from home is not easy. But we were working on it at that point in time. And basically, as we got out of, at the tail end of the COVID-19 pandemic, we actually were invited to the Global Esports Federation inauguration in Singapore to showcase the tech once more. And by then, we have developed it quite a bit further. So Jerry was there, and that was actually the first time I properly met Jerry. Yeah, so you remember that, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I do. And also because of that, one of the things that I think, for me at least, or for World Taekwondo, is that how would I say this? In 2019, until 2019, we had this concept, and it was just a concept. But once we saw the product, then we saw the potential, and we were like, okay, this could work. But now, over the past few years, we have constantly developed. But now when we see the final product, and it's not final yet, but now when we see the product here and we see the cheers of the crowd, and they're not only cheering for the Singapore team, but they're cheering for all the athletes, and we see retired athletes coming in, it really gives us this idea, how it cements the concept that this is real now, and now moving forward, we need to make it good, we need to make it perfect. And one of the things that we would like to see happening is that World Taekwondo's vision is Taekwondo for all, but it has always been about elite athletes so far. So this product that we have here, this joint product, can really bring us to the masses, can really bring us to the crowd, can really bring us to the roots of Taekwondo. And I think this is the vision that we have, and this is really the potential that we have.
For sure. This is definitely one of the amazing aspects of virtual Taekwondo is the social inclusion, young, old, short, tall, skinny. Any people of any physical ability can engage in 1-versus-1 non-contact VR sparring. And that's such a big advantage. And you saw it when everybody was there and cheering for that.
Yeah.
You can see that this ticks the right boxes for what it can become. Of course, technology is constantly going to evolve. You guys are constantly going to develop the tech behind it. But the main core of what this is about, it's already here and it's already, in action.
Yes, it does. And I think this is something which maybe Darren can also add on, because this is where the technology actually has brought us to this place, and maybe you can expand on it as well.
Yeah, definitely. So for us coming in and taking a look at the technology behind the game, we really wanted to make Taekwondo sparring accessible to all, right? So no matter if you are young 6-year-old, 7-year-old boy who's really into fighting games, or you want to try Taekwondo sparring, and versus someone who's like tall or a 40-year-old heavier.
Yeah.
So it really breaks boundaries in terms of gender, in terms of age. It kind of gives people a chance to really try Taekwondo and really connect in terms of a community where you actually can, you don't have to go into actual contact sparring, and you can actually try something where you learn Taekwondo and play the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think that we actually saw it in the Olympic Esports Week already, in the lead up to that, because we had Singapore athletes who are also competing, and we were going to, thanks to Jerry's hard work, being able to invite absolute legends in the Olympic Taekwondo history to come to Singapore. Now, for these kids, they're like 15, 17 years old, and never in their life up to this moment have they ever thought there was even a chance or even a possibility that they could actually face up or face off against the heroes of, from their perspective, right? Like their eyes were like shining the entire time when, Aaron Cook, Wu Jingyu, Yasmini, when they were here, they were going crazy. And it was never going to be possible, right? Where like a male athlete could go up against, say, Yasmini, right? Or that a female athlete could go up against Aaron Cook because of not just gender, but because of weight class, because of height, because of even age, just because, some of them have already retired from the sport. So this is amazing. I thought, I know I'll let them speak for themselves, but I know they were really, really excited. Having said that, the Singapore athletes are still competitors. So they did, they still fought.
Yeah, they did well. They did very well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Not only it's a dream for them to being able to compete against some of these legends,
Yeah.
but not only compete, they beat them. You know, like a lot of them. I think only 2 legends made it through to the quarterfinal round. So that shows you, you know, it's a different sport. Even the athletes said it. It's a total different sports, but that carries everything that is exciting about Taekwondo. It's a competition. Yasmina was talking about it. You know, other than the aspect of you're going to fight somebody and, you know, the apprehension of the intimidation, that factor, and receiving kicks, it has everything. And even Martin, the athlete from Australia, was saying, I want to start again. As soon as I took the helmet off, I wanted to dive right into it again. And she came in. And I think that's what's really important, to have involved Olympic athletes that are the markers of the opinion of what it is to do kyorugi. You know, most of the technology, when it's introduced and it's not understand or experienced yet, people gonna have ideas about it. And they were saying, even like, I came here without thinking too much about this. I didn't understand, even as an athlete, how Taekwondo can be mixed with esports. I don't get it. And then she said in one of the interview, I'm completely, you know, in now. I loved it. I understand. And I think it's great to have people that, you know, are your ambassador, you know, the one that moved the needle into what to think on yes or not, to tell you that this is exactly another
And that is a confirmation of what you have just said.
yeah, that's the points I scored.
Really really grateful for that. The plane's still here, but actually, I think I'm sorry for jumping in again, but I think it's really important at this point. One of the first things that we tell every Taekwondo athlete, including the legends, when they came down, we at Refract, hang on. Yes, we're very proud of our country.
They're on the road this time.
Yeah. So where was I? I was saying that it's actually very.
That's the afterburner here.
Yeah, I think we can go over it. We'll be able to hear.
So I think what I wanted to say was that it is actually very important for me to say this, that all of us at Refract have a strong belief that, you know, whatever gamified version or virtualized version of a sport can never fully replace or replicate or duplicate the experience. That's not what the goal is here, right? Because I think the real thing is the real thing. And any version of gamification or virtualization is to give you a taste of the experience, but also give you some benefits, like, for example, learning some basic tactics and strategies. It is its own game. It is its own, let's call it a virtual sport or e-sport if the community agrees, but it is not the real thing. So, but we hope that it is going to be a very powerful gateway for people to explore kurogi in Taekwondo. Yeah.
For sure. And Jerry, that's one of the questions I wanted to tell you, but to rebound exactly on what you said, I don't feel like this is here to replace anything. No. I think this is its own thing, 100%. And that it's going to have its own space to drag more people to become fan of Taekwondo worldwide. Yes. And the question was, Jerry, what place do you see esports taking in World Taekwondo?
It's definitely one for the future, and the future is now, actually. And one thing that we have seen so far, especially in Singapore, was that Singaporeans, for example, we are very focused on studies, on education. But it's very heartening to see parents coming here and encouraging their children to pick up virtual Taekwondo, give it a try. Knowing the fact that it is a safe sport, knowing the fact that it provides physical activities, is very beneficial to the health. And so moving forward for World Taekwondo, using this small sample size, we can also imagine that this will be the case for most countries, where virtual Taekwondo can be, I would say, a magnet to bring the crowd in and to show that, look, esports or whatever we want to call it, it's not just about sitting down and playing a game. It can be a physical exercise using the latest technology, and at the same time, it really educates the children that, to encourage them to one day, as Michael said, to pick up the sport, to pick up the martial arts in the dojang, in a club, and hopefully become an Olympian. If not, then at the very least have a healthy mind and healthy body.
For sure, for sure. And it's his own thing. It also has pathways to get into Taekwondo. You know, I think it's also a great way to learn about the sports, about Taekwondo. You can already project Pumse Taekwondo with the esports, where you can really, you know, have a model to follow. And I remember even in the demonstration you guys had in Manchester in 2019, you already had a version of Pumse that was really accurate, and that is a way of also to learn about it.
Yeah, and I would like to add that, for the refugees as well and the displaced persons, actually one of the ideas that President Cho has is to bring this to the refugee camps. Eventually, this is something which, depending on the technology, depending on how we develop, we can also maybe extend to athletes with disabilities. And this will really make Taekwondo truly, truly inclusive. And maybe Darren, this is something that you can really work on in the months and the years to come.
Well, requesting on the podcast. Okay. I'm joking. Darren, please.
Yeah, definitely. I think working closely with World Taekwondo, we are looking at pathways and different things to develop into the game, right? Could you maybe virtualize a dojang experience in a lesson, for example, where you're learning the techniques of a kick in virtual Taekwondo? And you can do it in the space of your home. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to visit the dojang, and maybe even a live session with someone, instructor, in your own virtual space. So there are many avenues that we are looking into. We are exploring closely with World Taekwondo. Yeah.
We're also we're keen to explore something, especially with the legends coming down. Ideas are going off in our heads because we could actually have well-known legends, like legendary players, athletes from the Taekwondo space. We could record their movements and build an AI around their fighting style, and then, you could train against your hero in Taekwondo. That would be, we were hoping for Lee Dae-hoon as well to come down. It would be great to, in the future record and then understand their play style so that you have a chance of seeing what it's like to actually spar against your Taekwondo hero at an equalized virtual platform. Yeah.
For sure. And I mean, we can go on and on, I think, to keep packaging the different things that this project could bring, because this is only, the game itself is only the tip of the iceberg. There is so much thing below the technology that you guys are developing, the statistics, the data. All of this can serve Taekwondo and be, a tool for it to spread. And Jerry, just to rebound on it, I know that Dr. Cho, the president, wants Taekwondo to be a vehicle for everyone to be included, and as you said, this is such a real tool to bring a form of Taekwondo competition worldwide, because Taekwondo can travel worldwide everywhere, but as a competition, sometimes you're restricted by you not being able to travel, as you said, for refugee camp. And you talked about, the general connectivity, not only just from one country or another continent to another, but a region to another. You were talking about that.
So the thing about online playing this game online, you don't have as much physical limitations. For example, if you want to spar with somebody in real life, you have to literally be in the same gym, the same dojang, the same club. Virtual Taekwondo or virtualized form of the sport can allow you to be displaced. That means if you're from one end of Seoul, for example, you could play with another player in another end of Seoul. But the main thing that we do want to take note here with the current limits of technology is that if you want to play it well and play it realistically, you want to have no lag or latency between, me punching and my opponent seeing a punch, and you kicking and me seeing your punch, your kick, even milliseconds away. That is not competitive, right? So it is unlikely in the near future for example, a player from Singapore to be able to play against somebody in Iceland, say. But, regionally, that's still possible, and we want to keep pushing that limit.
Perfect. Such an amazing concept again. And maybe now we can discuss a little bit more about the game itself. Around the table, we all know it, but maybe the people listening, they have no clue about, how it works. Maybe to describe the main rules and the goal of the game, and to say a little bit about that.
Yeah, so virtually you can play as a male or female avatar, and you actually have a health bar in the game, and you have full control of basically your legs, and you can do kicks in the game. So one of the interesting things about the technology is our trackers actually track how fast you move your legs to kick, right? So there's some form of tracking of the linear acceleration of the kicks. So you can have light kicks, medium kicks, and heavy kicks as well. So that's interesting to especially on an athlete level. And it also encourages the more casual players to improve their techniques of their kicks of the game if they really want to get really good at it, right? So it's an encouragement of perfecting their techniques. And you can also basically move around in virtual reality. So there's a sense of distance gauging, there's a sense of when do I defend, when do I try and attack. So that really makes kind of the sense of danger from actual Taekwondo sparring. Yeah.
That's so interesting because it drives the potential of progression. You know, it's not I just play and it's random. Like you can progress, and it's a physical activity. So you're gonna get, the more you do it, the more you're gonna get in shape, the better you're gonna get. So that's a big thing.
I was going to ask you to elaborate on the stun meter, but to add on what Arthur was saying, yes, because this game is not just about a cardio workout where you just attack, and that's it, right? There is offense and defense. You can block, you can dodge, you can outflank your opponent if you move well. So footwork does matter in this case. So that's a very dynamic game that we try as much as possible to emulate tactical fight. But Darren, please also tell them about how the stun meter works in its current form.
Yeah, basically, when you deal damage, you actually collect points for your stun meter. So you can potentially stun your opponent, and that gives you a chance to have a couple of free hits to damage the opponent, right? And when you block as well, it actually decreases the stun meter
Of your opponent.
Of your opponent. Yeah. So there's this tactical element of okay, how much should I defend or block? How much should I go on the attack? And it really it creates that experience of Taekwondo sparring. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's meant to reward good offense as well as good defense. Yeah.
For me, I would say that one of the interesting things is that you can see the difference in the strategies as well. We are so used to conventional kyorugi where there's a lot of defense and there's a lot of maybe even overthinking sometimes, and there tends to be a bit of a lag in the competition until the next action happens. But here we have seen where the Olympians, who are so used to conventional kyorugi, suddenly are fighting kids basically, who they have no much strategy in mind except to attack and to run rings around the Olympians. And this is where the Olympians got kind of confused initially, but they had to adapt quickly and they managed to do it. But still, it was interesting contrast between these two groups. And I think moving forward, you're going to see a lot of different strategies, and it will be very interesting to see how we can make all these strategies maybe into a book, even into a manual on what to attack and how to attack, and maybe even revolutionize the sport itself.
For sure, and I think that's important for gamers, to have tendencies of execution, not to be something, as we were saying, like random, you just go and go and go, to build tendencies where player can really develop a strategy. That's such an important part. And in the defense of Olympic athletes, I think that once you get kicked in the face when you attack, you develop a sense of, okay, let's be careful about that.
So you're absolutely right, because, that's what they say, right? All your plans go out the window the moment you get, kicked in the head. Yeah.
No, for sure. And just based maybe even on the more of the surface, the game itself, the rules, how do you win, and the competition area. Just maybe to touch a little bit about that, because that's something that we think that it's a given for anyone, but maybe these people that are listening right now don't know about it.
So to sum it up, I think virtual Taekwondo is a virtual reality first-person fighting game. What that means is that when you put on the headset, you are in first person, so you actually see your opponent in front of you. Now, we have this thing called a pass-through mode. A lot of people are afraid to get into virtual reality because they don't know what their real surroundings are like versus, their virtual reality. And especially in a sport like Taekwondo where you're going kicking and you're moving and you're flying through the air, sometimes you don't feel safe doing that if you don't know what your real environment and surroundings look like, right? So we make sure that there was this thing, what we call a pass-through mode, that allows you to actually see your surrounding, but your opponent appears as a 3D character in front of you. So you are able to freely attack and defend without having to worry that you don't know where you are. So that's amongst the first thing. And we also incorporated various forms of feedback into how a person plays. For example, if your opponent manages to damage or kick your body, which is one of the key damage target areas for Taekwondo, you will see a flash of red. If you are attacked in your body, your vision will be flashed with a red flash. If you are actually kicked in the head, you're not allowed to punch the head. If you're kicked in the head, then you will see a white flash. So those kind of feedback really helps with the experience, because, like you said, they're not actually being hurt, and we kind of want to make sure that the player still feels immersive from that perspective. Yeah.
And I think one of the things to add on is that unlike traditional Taekwondo, is the health bar. So the health bar is it's not just about points here. It's a very Street Fighter style of health bar. And that has come across as very interesting because it actually is something that people can identify with. Whereas in a normal sports like Taekwondo, people do not know how points are scored. Whereas right here is very easy. If you're hit, your bar goes down. That's it.
Well, it kind of works like a reverse points version of Taekwondo. It's just that you start out with a set amount of points, and then you go down to 0 and knockout.
Exactly.
Game done. Yeah.
And a little bit, maybe I'm curious about the bar. How does it drain the bar basically on the different technique that you do, right?
Darren. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I spoke a little about the linear acceleration and the different type of kicks that you can do in the game. So, for example, a heavy kick would do more damage than a medium kick and a light kick. And once you deplete the health bar of your opponent to 0, you win the round. Of course, there's a countdown timer as well. So if you don't deplete within that amount of time, the person with more health wins that round. So right now we are running a best of 3, and the person who wins the first 2 rounds wins the match.
First to 2, yeah.
Yeah, first to 2. Yeah.
Perfect. And now that we kind of gave the main rules and the concept of the game, maybe we can stay on what you were talking about, and is the technical aspect, the development aspect. Regarding technology, I'm sure the task wasn't easy to develop the game. Can you tell us about the process of building a game like this?
Yeah, I think it's really challenging in the sense that no one has really done full body motion tracking in virtual reality where you actually fight another player. So it was in real time, right? So it was really challenging for us to kind of identify what kind of user experience we want to bring to players. And especially at the athlete level, it was really challenging, because how do you track a spinning back kick, for example? Like if an athlete jump 360 in the air and lands a kick on the head, like how do you do that? Right? So I think we've done a lot of iterations of the game itself. So the initial early versions were just basic kicks, and you just do a set amount of damage. And after testing the product with many different athletes and getting feedback from World Taekwondo as well, we kind of iterate the game along the way to really come to this point where the experience is quite close as possible, and really integrates the kind of the experience of Taekwondo sparring.
I think I would definitely want to add on to that, because Darren is absolutely right. This has never really been done before this way. In VR, usually any kind of fighting game or combat game, it is a single player experience. That means you're fighting against AI. You're not fighting against a real person in real time. Us doing this was tricky because VR is still a lot of uncharted territory. And on top of that, so on such a global stage, there are a lot of challenges. First, trying to make sure that the game can work in VR, number one. Number two, making sure that the game can work in VR with our trackers, our Axis trackers. And then we decided to take on additional challenge because, at the end of the day, if you want this to be a sport, it has to be as good a player experience as it is a spectator experience. So if we were to not think about the spectator experience, then usually the output of what it looks like to audiences would be the first-person view of the player, which is not good at all because when athletes are going really hard competitively, their headsets are going shaking and moving very fast, and if you put that on a screen, people might get nauseous, right? So we decided to work on spectator mode, which is a dedicated spectator mode specifically for an audience experience. And we were working on all of this, and then out of the blue, pretty much out of the blue, they very quickly announced Olympic Esports Week. We were in the middle of trying to port it to VR, trying to develop this, and we had to very quickly make sure that, polish the game up, make sure that it's good for the world stage. So a lot of challenges, and I would, if there are any slight technical faults here and there, I do apologize. Our team is dedicated and committed to continually perfecting and polishing this game.
For sure, and that's what we were discussing earlier. I feel like this project doesn't have a finish line drawn. It's only going to keep on developing constantly and innovating. There is not going to be a moment where you guys are going to say, oh, it works, we're good, let's leave it at this version. It's always, especially in this industry, you blink for a second and technology drives 100 yards in front of you. So, and it's also a good balance because at the same time technology moves forward. So how aware do you have to stay in your development process of the technology that is constantly, because you could spend a lot of time and energy developing around the technology that today is the one, and they announced something next week, and it changes completely the entire thing. So how is this for you to always keep in mind what's the next move and things like this?
So I'll take this one. Like a lot of Taekwondo athletes, we are very competitive. I am personally highly competitive. So yes, we pay very close, Darren knows this. I pay obsessive attention to the landscape of technology, and we want to make sure that we are at the absolute cutting edge and that we are competitive. So to give you an example, when we first started on this project and when Darren first joined us as well, this was way back, right? The industry standard for the the number of sensors you need on your full body to do full body tracking with a sensor like this was 19 sensors, right? 17 to 19 to be exact. And sensors like that, full body tracking systems like that back then, the cheapest we could find was like 3,000 to 4,000 USD. Most of them were 5 figures. There are also 6-figure systems out there, which is just not viable at all for if you want it to be widespread in Taekwondo, right? So over the years, I cut the long story short. Essentially, we started looking at 17 sensors. We went down to 9. And from 9, that was in Commonwealth Esports Championships in Birmingham. And then shortly after that, within less than a year, we went from 9 to 5. So now they're using 5 sensors with a VR headset. I think we can potentially bring it down to 4 as well. So that's one challenge. Now, we are doing all of this while maintaining fidelity of tracking of the action of an athlete in the game. We are doing all this while not giving up an inch in terms of latency, input lag, or just quality of movement and the like. Yeah, but Darren, I think you can add more as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think observing the landscape and trying to push the technology to kind of match the vision that we have for the game. And I think it's always about the constant development and the people, right? So we always get feedback from different walks of life, Taekwondo athletes, people from dojangs as well, our internal testers from our development team. So we always try and find new ideas and new innovative ways to really push the boundary of technology, right? And I think at the end of the day, it isn't a one-stop solution. It's going to be a idea that keeps innovating and keeps changing, while we want the best product to go out there and really change the lives of people. And I think that's really the where the passion of us game developers lie in. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like the recipe for a successful project, and it's already there. And quick question, maybe before we wrap it up, for people that listen to this, that hear about virtual taekwondo, what is a way for them to experience today virtual taekwondo? I know that today it's not on consumer market everywhere, but tell me maybe a little bit about the development and how they can have access to virtual taekwondo to try it.
Yeah, so the first few steps that we're taking that are quite soon actually is that we are talking to the dojangs ideally to get them to have it set up in their respective dojangs so that people can go to their taekwondo school, their gym or their club, their dojang and try it out live there. But we also do plan to have a consumer version, but that would be probably late next year. Or maybe even later, because we want to make sure that it's good, right? So I think we are very keen and excited to have as many people as possible try this out and play it. Like during the public tryouts today, we saw little kids playing with either each other, like other kids, or like with their parents. And in the game itself, they're all same height, same everything. So it was such a great experience. We hope more people get to experience that. But we'll be working closely with World Taekwondo and with Jerry to try and make sure that the whole world starts experiencing virtual taekwondo.
Yeah, I would definitely look forward to the partnership as well. I think this is something which we share, again, the same vision of expanding to the masses. And on top of that, I think one of the things that it kind of reflects reality as well, because the current world champions and Olympic champions are teenagers, 17 years old, 18 years old. And we hope that someday maybe even see a virtual taekwondo champion as well as a real world champion. They could be the same person. They could be the same person, and that's how reality is. And reality and virtual might not be such a big gap after all.
For sure, looks like worldwide, technology and humans and virtual reality and the full metaverse is gonna be a part of everyone's daily routine. Guys, before wrapping it up, any other comment or things that you would like to say?
If I may, just one bit more, I really want to give a shout out. I think Darren definitely wants to do this as well to the team, because what you see is really a lot of it is the tip of the iceberg, and below the surface level, right? A lot of us are working very, very, very hard and making sure that everything is up to pair and up to par and polished, right? So Darren, you want to add anything there? Give them a shout out.
Definitely. Yeah. So I think the team has worked really, really hard for Olympic Esports Week, as well as really to bring this virtual taekwondo to the world. And we really want to have a polished product on the world stage and really to touch as many people's lives as possible to let them see and potentially try out in the future.
But that's definitely something we can feel when we are around it. You're not only executing a project, you're executing it for the people and for the experience of it. And that's something that, we can feel. So yeah.
Thank you.
Jerry, anything to add on your side with World Taekwondo and maybe things that you guys are looking forward or?
Well, I would say that firstly, I compliment the two gentlemen here because the amount of work that they have done is something that we have seen, and we have not even seen, but we have heard as well. And this is something which cannot be done overnight. Over the past few years, I am very sure that they have put in so much homework and so much effort, and you can really see the end product right now. But it's not the end. It's actually the end of this phase. It's the start of a new phase. And we really want to see, moving forward for World Taekwondo, we really want to expand this project and to really reach out to the masses, to the dojangs, to the children, to the parents, and go, look, Taekwondo can be part of your life, and in fact should be part of your life. And this is what the whole Olympic agenda is all about. This is what our sustainability strategy is all about. And moving forward, let's have a more integrated world, and to really be well, as President says, to have peace in mind and Taekwondo at heart. That's really something that we really want to achieve.
Well, that's a perfect way to close it. Gentlemen, thank you once again for joining. It was a really great conversation, and best of luck for the continuity of the project.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to check out more of the best clips from The Clinch on Spotify, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on the WT official website.